What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay, my journey to 10,000 live listings on eBay. Today, we're going to try something a little bit different. I am actually going to run a weekly show now with my friend Luke, based on actionable tips or ideas to help you build a scalable eBay business. We're both trying to create more of an eBay business versus just being a reseller. So we're going to each exchange some tips and go over some different ideas today. And I'm going to introduce Luke now. Why don't you give us, we have a lot of the same followers, so why don't you give us a brief introduction to what you do?
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for hosting tonight, Chris. Looking forward to this weekly series. Miss having some of our videos and some of our back and forth banter. We generate some pretty fun content. For those of you who don't know me, I am a part-time eBay seller. I am a full-time corporate finance analyst, but I spend just as many hours in my part-time eBay business as I do in my full-time career. It is much more than a hobby at this point. I love it. I have a YouTube channel, Endless Entrepreneurs, and kind of document my journey throughout the year on there. And I've really just been, the last 6 months or so, just been really learning a lot. Between Chris and a bunch of other resellers, we've been kind of sharing and growing and fighting and kind of getting our stores bigger and better. And so it's been a lot of fun. I specialize in men's clothing. Pretty much sell everything in men's clothing. So shoes on up to blazers and suits. And yeah, I think that's about it, Chris.
Awesome. And I just want to clarify, it's not my show, it's our show. We're going to alternate and talk about our 6 tips each week and alternate each other's channels. So if you guys haven't checked it out, in the top of the description of the video is Luke's channel, Endless Entrepreneurs. Check it out. I also sell a ton of men's clothing, so we're sort of in the same category. So hopefully we can help you guys with some different procedures. So Luke and I are just going to try out a format today, which is we're going to share a tip with each other, and then we're going to give a brief little conversation and debate and discussion over each topic, about 10 minutes per tip. So Luke, do you want to start, or do you want me to start with the first tip of the night?
Well, I feel like since it's your channel tonight that you have to start first. So we're going to kick it right back to you.
Perfect. So the first tip I'm going to go over today is I actually have all the tools that I need to list that I can reach without actually moving from where I stand. So I'm building this listing station for my employees, and it's based on a U-shaped concept from lean manufacturing, which means all the tools you need are to the left or to the right of you, so you don't actually need to move to get all your listing stuff done. So I have Scotty peelers to remove labels, scissors, markers to cross things out. I have all my packaging materials. I list completely differently than Luke, which is awesome to discuss, but I do, all my shipping containers are literally here. So all the different size envelopes, boxes, tape, all that stuff is literally within an arm's reach. And ideally, I can insert this pod in somebody's house and they can do listing for me, or I could have this pod inside my warehouse. So trying to create an all encompassing U-shaped pod. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah. So first of all, awesome tip. I mean, it's one of those things that you think everyone would intuitively be like, yeah, I need to do that. But I can tell you firsthand, I don't. And I can tell you that I have to very intentionally remind myself to have all the things I need nearby. And I find myself all the time like, oh, loose strand on that. Where's my scissors? Oh, crap, they're back over there. And I'm scrambling. And it's like that focused layout, like you're talking about, it makes such an intentional impact on your listing. And I think when we start breaking things down into seconds and minutes, and my goodness, I feel like I'll have a listing goal and I start and the time's just gone and I haven't finished all the things I want to finish. And something as little as that can save you a ridiculous amount of time, and you can list that much more on that time. Having your tools right there, having your camera, whatever it is you need, right there in plain kind of reaching distance. So I definitely understand. Scissors is like my worst one, just if we're naming specific tools that are never where they should be, is my scissors. And then occasionally my tape, I need to tape down labels. So, but yeah, I agree with you for sure.
I actually have 2 pairs of scissors because even though I have it all here, I still somehow lose those.
Yeah.
So
that sounds about right.
So let's go. Let's see. Do we have any specific questions on this? Doesn't look like it. You might think we're up for your next tip.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, I think, but I do think it's overlooked a lot, and I'm guilty even as much as I have of overlooking it. So I learned that a lot through this bulk buying process. I'll tell you that much. All right, so my next one, it kind of feeds off this a little bit, but and I've really been focusing in on this over the last probably month, is having flow to your workstation. And again, I feel like it's something that's super intuitive, but is easy and as simple as the state. It's not easy to execute on. And I find that when you don't have flow to your workstation, the amount of volume that you put out is greatly hindered. And I feel like my body is more tired, which sounds super weird, but like physically more tired if I don't have great flow to my workstation, because the repetitive tasks that I'm doing end up wearing on me a lot more than if I had great flow to my workstation. And just to give a specific kind of walk to that, and me and Chris, we list completely differently. They both work and they're both acceptable, but having flow, like I do pictures all at once, and then I do measurements all at once, and then I package and like describe and put it in bins all at once. So for me, I start with my photo station. So with all my items to the right, and it all goes in a circle. So it starts on the right and it ends on the left. There isn't any back and forth. It's a complete like U-shaped, workflow. And so I'll start with mannequin pictures, and then everything starts like I grab it, and then it's going to come over here when it's done. And when everything's done pictures, all I have to do is turn my body 2 steps to the left, and I'm at my standing desk where I'm measuring, putting in packaging, and then putting it to bins to my left, and it's by the doorway to go out. So it's just one continuous workflow. So yeah, I mean, that's, to me, I think you cannot underestimate the value of having flow in your workspace and how much more efficient and value add that can be. So that's my tip. I don't know how you feel about that, Chris, or how that plays into what you have, but.
I have 2 immediate questions on that. Are you left-handed?
No, I'm right-handed, actually.
Yeah, I work left to right.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Right to left sounds weird. Like I wouldn't be able to work in the process. Yeah, I guess that's an interesting thing. So you are right-handed, so I don't know if that's a thing. Second question is, I try to do that, but I don't do it in the same order every time. Do you have it written down? Do you know like how, like for example, do you always measure armpit to armpit first, then length? Is it like a specific order?
Oh, that's a good question. So, well, first of all, before I answer that, I'm going to get back to the right and the left thing. So it's interesting you bring that up. So I go right to left because I'm always grabbing or reaching with my right hand. So it's my dominant hand. So I'm grabbing the clothing item, putting it on, and then I'm throwing it over here. And then when I go sit, I'm pulling it again from right to left to measure, and then it's going to the bin. So I think it's just from like I'm dominant on my right hand side, so it just seems to flow that way. So that's interesting though. I never really thought about whether it'd be left to right or right to left, but I guess it does make a difference. I mean, I don't know. To answer the question on the measurements though, so when I do measurements, I freehand write them down. I don't use a form template, and I write it on one line of paper. And everyone always questions, why do you write it down? Why don't you use Draft? And it's a great question. Why don't you use the mobile app, which is what Chris does? But for me, I list from my laptop normally. With the exception of this bulk order, I've been processing this way differently than what I'm talking about for standard single source items. Is I like to list on my laptop once the item's fully prepped. So I want everything done in the bin away, and then throughout my week, I can list those items at my convenience around my schedule, only because I work full-time. If I didn't work full-time, I wouldn't do it this way. And that's why I always try to explain to people. If I had just a ton of time to bang it out, I don't think I would do it that way.
What would be the main difference if you would do it more all at once?
I would do it start to finish. Yeah, I think that I would probably start using the app. So if I was to list full time, I may batch it and do the app that way. But what I would do is, now I'm starting to get better with drafts on my app. I've been using that for the bulk order, and I think there is some upside there. But I use a point and shoot camera right now as well. So like I use point and shoot with SD, pop it out, unload them all, copy paste them in. So if I switch that other way, I'd have to go to my phone. That would be the thing. I'd have to have the pictures on my phone, because using the mobile app, I think, would be the only way to make that faster for me. I'm kind of bouncing over, but to answer your question, the measurements is I memorize them, so I freehand them, and I grab the item, and I have my standing desk, so I can just spin the item. So I go armpit to armpit, I spin it, get my length, and then I just do the sleeve right where it is. And I just can remember all 3 numbers, and I write them down the same order every time. So when I look at that sheet, I just know it's pit to pit, length, sleeve. I just always write them down in the same order.
How many do you do at a time? Are you Is it line by line?
Yeah, line by line. So like I'll take pictures of 30 items of the same type. I'll do measurements of 30 items of the same type, and I'll put them in their bins, package them up, and they're good to go. And then I have that piece of paper, and I have the pictures on my SD card, and I can just list them on my computer, sell similar off my own inventory, and list them at my convenience.
What matches the line with your item?
So when I upload the pictures from my SD card, so I pop the SD card out, put it in my computer. They're always in the order I took the pictures in. And so I just match up the inventory number I signed on my sheet of paper with the top. And then I know every single one. I just create a folder with that ID number and drop them all in the folders.
Have you ever mismatched one?
Yeah, but I catch it just because they're all so it's not like the L01 order. Like I have this bulk order of all the same items basically. Right. They're all uniquely different. So you know right away, like you're typing the description like that's not that picture. And then it occasionally happens, not very often though. It's pretty foolproof process for the most part. Okay.
That's gonna bring me into my second tip that I'm gonna suggest, and this works for me, but I'm now doing it in batches of 20. And that's exactly the number of items that fit in a bin for me. So I'll get 20 items and list 20. I'm trying to do that in a little like sprint or something, like a listing sprint, for lack of a better term. I used to get a lot more items thinking I'd be more ambitious, and then I'd end up getting burned out, and I'd be like, no, I don't want to list anything. And then less than 20 doesn't feel like much of an accomplishment. So I'm thinking, bring one bin of clothes into the listing area, finish it, and get it out of here. So that, it never has anything in it unless I'm listing 20. That way I don't get overwhelmed because, like you, I placed a huge order, and looking at that giant pile is very depressing. So trying to keep my morale high mentally, I think that's a tip I'm working on.
So I have a question on that. So I agree completely with chunking it, batching them together in like types, getting quantities in and out and done. So I agree with that totally. From your bulk order though, so how much of it do you sort at a time? So do you go through and just sort until you get 20 shirts and then bring it in? Or is it just all in a heap right now? Unsorted basically?
So I purchased around 4,000 shirts, and I only have like 20 or 30 left. They're all listed. But I made a huge mistake in not sorting by price. I just took 20 in and did it, and 20 in and did it, but that was not the right way to do it. I should have spent an extra 5 hours going through all the nicer shirts and listed those first. Okay. Because at the very end, I had really nice shirts that I should have listed first.
Right.
And it took me 3 months to list all of the stuff. So that's 3 months of money that could have been in the flow faster. So
am I hearing,
that was a huge error.
Am I hearing a secondary tip there of just sort in the order of value when you list? Is that what you aim for?
I think now I'm doing that. Right. So if I have 20 items, if I buy a bulk order, I will spend the extra time to sort the more expensive items first.
Okay. That makes sense. And I totally agree with you. I wish that I had spent more time sorting my big order I have now up front. I think that I wasted a lot of time doing. Granted, I had to for the space factor, but like, I really wish I had sorted more up front. And now, do you also think that if it wasn't you, since you do have employees and you were sorting and doing batches, do you think the efficiency drops off after 20? Like you talked about 20 kind of being that sweet spot. Do you think that batching items at more than 20 that the efficiency drops?
I think the errors increase for me if I have people and I'm gonna try to switch to taking photographs all at once, because right now I know it's slower taking photos one at a time, right, but there's less errors. And then I'm paying piecemeal per item, which means I'm not paying an additional cost other than it's slowing my listers down. So today I had some listers over. We tried doing 20 sets of pictures and then sit on the couch and crank them all in through mobile, upload the photographs, and prepackage them to get ready for shipping. And that was way less burnout. Let's see. So they were happier with doing that process, but let's see. They're more bored doing the 20 photos 20 listing than they are all one at a time. But the 20 photos, 20 listing was easier on their bodies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing the repetitive task was harder on their body.
So you're saying doing 20 photos
but much faster.
listings was harder on the body?
Right. It made them more tired. Doing the same task 20 times in a row made them more tired than doing everything one at a time. But that one at a time is much slower.
Right.
So that's an interesting, because I can definitely, I do it start to finish because I'm not organized. So I'm definitely going to enter in the wrong photos.
Right.
So
that's
but I don't get tired when I list, and I wonder if that's because I never do the same task twice in a row. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting because I always have fatigue when I list, and I do what you're saying makes them tired too, right? I batch photos, batch measurements. Right. Like I have the stand desk just so that depending on how fatigued I am, I can lower or raise it. I can sit or stand. Like that was an investment I made because of exactly what you're talking about, which is very interesting. But so it's funny though, because and I'll get my brain spinning. I'm thinking about like when you have multiple people set up working, it's almost like you want to do like, you're going to do 10 photos, you're going to do 10 measurements, and you're going to swap. And you're going to do 10 photos and you're going to do 10 measurements, right? And just keep passing them back and forth so that you still get the efficiency, but you don't get the ergonomic burnout.
I know that Starbucks has seven or eight stations when they unload inventory and get it unboxed, loaded into the system, priced, and put onto the shelf. I think it's 7 different stations,
right.
And they rotate, but I don't know how often they rotate.
Right.
So that is, I know there's definitely fatigue from doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt about that. Yeah, it's curious. It's very interesting. And how much? So if you had to put a percentage factor, and sorry, I'm just bearing you with questions right now, but if you had to put a percentage factor on how less efficient they are doing the process all the way from start to finish versus batching it, like how many more do you think they get done by batching? Like batching photos.
I'd say 6 an hour, one by one, is the low end.
Mm-hmm.
And then batching, the low end is 10 an hour. It's way faster to batch.
That's like almost double.
It's almost double.
That's a big deal.
It is. So I mean that it's almost double. The batching is definitely faster.
I guess that'll be a separate
question.
Episode, so I don't want to keep going down the rabbit hole.
That's a thing people should understand. Batching is faster. If you have an organization system where you don't confuse pictures, and for me, especially my listeners who aren't as fluent as me in men's shirts or whatever I'm listing, if they list 2 Nordstrom shirts right in a row and they're very similar, I mean, it's already happened to me a few times where they mix them up.
Right.
And the shirts were just too similar.
Right. Huh. Man, that's interesting. Well, and I guess it's important for people watching too, like if determining, right, if you're allocating 1 hour a day to prepping items and listing items, then I highly recommend batch, right? Your body is better to be doubly efficient. Like Chris was talking about with 6 versus 10 with the floor of how many items you've done. I would highly recommend if you got 1 hour each day you're dedicating to this, then batch. Whereas I think it's an interesting conversation, right? If you're, or maybe like, almost if you have a lot of hours, maybe do pictures, go do something else, come back, do measurements, go do something else, just so you're still staying efficient and you're just doing different tasks that are easier on your body.
John's making a good point that if I batch in 10, maybe I won't get as fatigued.
Right.
Instead of 20.
Or even like,
or even 5.
Like 20 items. Like I'm thinking for myself, maybe I do 20 photos. And I do this sometimes. I'll do 20 photos. I'll go take the dog for a walk because I know he's got to go out. I'll go change a load of laundry, do something I have to do, and then come back up and I'll do measurements. And it's easier on my body, but I still get the same efficiency in the same time. So I wonder if, okay. Anyways, we beat that one enough, I guess.
Your turn.
It does lead me right into my next tip, though, which is great. So and I'm going to say ergonomics like as a blanket statement, but I'm going to dive into it. If you can afford to, and if you're starting to see opportunity in your setup, invest in the ergonomics. And I think this plays perfectly off what we just talked about. I waited way too long to buy my standing desk. Like to a point where I think that I was very, very inefficient for probably February and the early part of March. I was way inefficient because of the amount of lower back pain I had, and things I was battling through just to churn 350 listings up per month. And as soon as I got the stain desk, it was such a game changer. It was a $240 investment, which that's a big hit. Like, that's not a small investment to make, especially as a reseller. And if you're doing it part time, it's especially not a small investment. But my productivity went way up. I was getting more done in the same amount of time. I was feeling better. My feet, my back, everything wasn't killing me as bad. I could sit or stand if I needed. Things like that. Like, even my computer chair. Like, we just got a different computer chair the other day. What a difference that makes. The one I had was a cheapo. It was a piece of crap. And you spend all that time in it. Those are repetitive tasks in these pieces of equipment. And when they're fit for you, you are just like, I also can think about how discouraging it was to think about going and prepping items because I knew the pain I was going to have, right? And there was times where, like, I just didn't go do it. I was like, I'll do it later, right? And I lost out on my schedule and things I had set to do because of the thought of what I had to go do and the pain I might experience by the end of it. Where if I just made that investment up front, I would have avoided all those times that happening. And I just think sometimes we get very short-sighted on, your shoestring budget, and sometimes you have to. Like, in the beginning, you just have to. But as soon as you can afford not to, don't skimp on that, because I feel like that's one of the best ways to kind of hack your time, hack your efficiency, and really just, just bring that to light for your whole business. And for employees if you have them too. So I'll kick that one to you.
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. Just that even on this drafting table, I'm 6'2", so this is like a perfect height for me. But if I have my girlfriend who's 5'1", she needs to stand on a box to have this even work. So right. Like it's so different for so many different people. And I list faster on the floor, but it's not good. It's not good for my back. But it's like I feel like everything is a lot closer. And I'm just like up in the clothing, but it's just not sustainable. You can't do it for very long.
Yeah.
If you're forced to do it on the ground, or a table, or sitting. Sitting period is slower. Yeah. That's
so interesting. I have never listed on the ground before. Like, is it more painful? Like, around your body? Is it definitely?
It's not more painful for me since I list only taking one picture at a time. If I took 10 items in a row pictures on the ground and I had to, lean over, that would be extremely painful, I'm assuming. But I mean, like watching Nicole State on her, when she photographs 100 items on the ground in like 90 minutes. So it's like a minute a photo, or a minute for 3 photos. It's amazing. And I like the flow on the ground better, but it's not really sustainable for my purpose of listing all the way through. But ergonomics is big, and I'm gonna go get a rubber pad to stand on.
I need that for my garage. I'm dying. This concrete garage is killing me for this LB motor. So rubber pad will help. I've been like starting to look at. I need to get. Yeah, concrete's rough.
And also, I have a drafting table, so it's on an angle versus flat. And I do flat lay, and Luke does a mannequin. So there's different. I feel like a mannequin would be less hard on your body than flat lay, because you're bent over trying to adjust it so that it's perfect.
Yeah. My mannequin is less harsh on my body because it's broken. It spins.
Marketing Melody is asking if you can link the standing desk you use.
Yeah, definitely. It's an IKEA one too, but I'll look up the link and let me pop it in the chat.
Okay, throw it in the chat.
Yeah, Chris has got to give his next tip anyway, so let me.
All right, let me knock out this tip. Okay, so here's something that I do that I just barely switched to that I really, really like, which is I am drafting. I used to literally enter in the shipping policy, return policy, and payment policy in every single time on mobile, because I just ignore the desktop app. But that's not how you do it. Since I have my listers enter in the weight in calculated, then I'm able to basically select all, use the bulk editor, and enter in the shipping, the payment policy, the return policy, and add best offer and change everything to I have 2 new policies, by the way, which is everything now is going to be good till canceled, and which I've always done 30-day listings. I'm switching to good till canceled, and I'm switching to free shipping and 60-day returns. So I'm going all the way to the other side of what I was doing, which is exciting because I've already noticed an increase in sales, which I think is when you're in the items so cheap. That's increasing velocity is interesting to me. That's a mouthful.
I'm trying to navigate to this link right now too, so I'm not ignoring you. I just I know I look like I'm looking away here. But yeah, so 60-day returns. First of all, so I did 60-day returns. Hold on, I'm really bad at multitasking. If I don't copy this link in here, I'm gonna get on a tangent.
Awesome, throw that in there.
Oh, what? Oh, it won't let me link it up. What, you got me blocked here? I'm not cool enough?
No, I don't think you can post the link. I'll just message me. I'll put it into the description of the video.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put it in after. Sorry about that, guys. And Chris, give me like a little highlight of what you just said, just so I make sure I address each point. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I get them in order.
It's a complicated tip. So basically, I am doing drafts only. I'm building all the drafts, everything except for return policy, shipping policy, payment policy, and I have those saved in my business policies. And now, since I'm switching to free shipping, and I just want to clarify, Joan is asking, can't I set this up in my default settings? So I just have multiple settings that I use frequently. Like I use padded envelopes, I use medium flat rate boxes, and I use first class mail. And unfortunately, mobile does not have templates in it or business policies. And when I went to eBay corporate, it didn't sound like they have any timetable for those. So I'm not going to hold my breath for those changes being available in mobile. But yeah, the 2 policies that I wanted to mention are 60-day returns and free shipping, which I'm changing all my stuff to that.
That's awesome. And I heard good till canceled, right?
And good till canceled, which when I was at eBay corporate, I was saying, hey, I don't like good till canceled because I want to go in there and adjust it and make sure I'm doing the right thing and recheck the market. And they're saying, no, you need to do that with all your listings all the time. And that was their argument. You need to set your schedule once a week, go in and look at every single one of your listings and make sure that it's right. Don't wait a whole month.
That's interesting.
And I was like, whoa, that didn't even occur to me. But this was sort of spacing it out. So every day I only had to do a few.
Right. It was setting a schedule for yourself.
Setting a schedule for myself. But they're like, it takes a while to re-index on the website. So when you take it down, and I would always sell similar to get a new item number, thinking it would make it more fresh. And there was just so many. eBay just did not like that. So I don't know if I should trust eBay. Probably, right? So they were just saying, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm kind of like in the extreme camp. I'm just like, I had all these arguments about search algorithm and this and that. And it's just like, you know what? If it's their policy, just do it, because we're getting a heck of a, and this is going to be, people are going to, what? We're getting a heck of a deal at 10%, being able to sell to millions of people on a working infrastructure. So I'm like, if that's what they want, then that's what they get. But getting back to the original point, like, I think those are great tips. I'm actually on good till cancel now, so I'm glad you brought that up. I just switched everything, and I did it for a different reason. I did it because running sales, it's so annoying when they exclude some of your items because they're going to expire the next 2 days. The sale's gone. It'll drive me nuts. So I'm just like, forget this. Everything's going good till canceled. I don't have to relist. And my sales impact everything I have listed, because I just run, like you, I run the continuous 20% off sale every 2 days. So like I did that. 60-day returns, did the same thing. And free shipping, you know, I've already had, except for shoes. Are you doing free shipping on shoes?
I'm doing free shipping on every single item.
Every single item.
So
I haven't done shoes because I don't know. You just can eat it so hard sometimes on those. But in your same situation as me, I'm East Coast, you're West Coast. Like, if I was in the middle of the country, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's going to even out. But man, you get hit heavy with coast to coast shipping, and you can really eat it on margins. But
I'm gonna eat it, but then also there's so many people who live in California, so all those are super cheap. So I'm hoping that I'm just gonna offer free shipping and doing the best offer. And this is the comment. This is going to come up. Like, are you going to eat a lot of profit if you offer best offer? Because people will say on a best offer, they're not considering shipping. So, you know, if you have plus shipping on an item, but now on a lot of my items, since they're similar, I just have a auto decline and pricing it at market. So I'm not having a huge issue because I'm pricing the shipping all the way to Maine, which definitely on some items makes me less competitive. But I think there's enough market in California and the West Coast. I'm not super worried about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's the way to go. I mean, I'm a big believer in presenting it to the consumer in the most attractive way possible, and free shipping is an attractive way to present the item. So, I mean, you can bake it into your price, and that sounds like what you're doing. That's what I do too. And I mean, I feel like I've had decent results with it, but I know that's a widely debated thing. But I think it's an awesome tip, especially for newer sellers. If you want your items to be more desired by the consumer, I think it's a really good way to separate yourself. Good. Am I up here? Is the last one for me?
Yeah, for the last one. We have so many questions, so I think we'll be good after we knock these tips out for half an hour.
Well, let me just make sure. So I had 4, and I was just waiting to see how it went to pick the third one here because I was trying to see how it went. So for me, it's more of like a blanket statement, but I'm gonna give some specifics. Is don't be afraid to adapt your your setup for the item type. And this was something that I was like adamantly against at the beginning because I'm like, nope, like my one workspace needs to be able to handle every item type that I want, right? And in the beginning, as a new seller, like I think that has to happen, right? You're just getting started. You might just carve out a little spot in a room you have in your house. You're just trying to figure things out. Great. As you evolve as a seller and you're trying to kind of get into more items and more niches, I have found through this bulk order, and I'm talking years of being stubborn and having one way to do every item. I went to Flatlane for pants. I created a separate workstation in my garage, which they could be right next to each other. I list pants probably twice as fast as I was when I was hanging them on the pant hangers. Like, no joke, twice as fast, Flatlane. Presentation, in my opinion, is just as good, but I churn through them so much faster with my new setup. And I think that people sometimes, I'm really guilty of this, is I just get super stuck in grinding. And so I just go, and I never stop and evaluate. Is this flow perfect for this item type, right? Or can I easily adapt something or create something separate that makes me doubly as efficient or even a little more efficient? And that's what I'm starting to figure out is, you know, like, and as we sort and batch out like item types, like you gave the tip earlier, having setups to handle each item type is also just as important. So that's just kind of my blanket tip as far as you get into more niches and more item types.
So do you have I have a bunch of questions on that. I love that tip. And for my more expensive items, like all the suits I've been collecting that I haven't listed because I haven't bought a mannequin yet, do you think that shoes, flat lay, hanging, mannequin is 4 separate stations?
I think that shoes and flat laying can be the same station simply because you're just setting the item where you're flat laying the pants. So I feel like you can dual purpose those for sure. And then I feel like I have 2 distinct workflows. So I'll just address it how I view it right now. And it could evolve, but for me, it's like shoes and pants will be done at the flat lay station, and my suits, blazers, and shirts will all be done on the mannequin station. Like that's just. And what I may even evolve to, and I don't know, I may evolve to some of my bread and butter type shirts as they become more prevalent, moving to a flat lay station. I've been toying with it in my head. I think that there's a price point that commands a mannequin, but what it's going to have to do is, for me, is it has to be faster. And I'm just not convinced for me, the way I do stuff, that flat lay will be faster for shirts. But either way, the 2 distinct stations for me. What do you think? Do you think that you need a like I don't think that I think I can do shoes the same way I do pants, like same surface, same lighting, same area.
Yes, I could do shoes and flat lay on the same surface, but not mannequin and not hanging.
Right. So what would you hang? I guess so I wouldn't hang anything anymore. Like once flat laying takes the nut, I don't need to hang anything anymore, I don't think.
I think hanging appears to be faster than flat laying. But I don't have a surface to test hanging, so I'm just curious.
Like a shirt on a hanger, basically.
Yeah.
See, I would think the flat lay looks better than that. I
No,
think
I think the flat lay looks better, but I'm
I think
saying it might be faster.
Yeah, you think it's faster? Yeah, it just distorts I feel like it distorts the shape of the shirt so much that I don't know. It'd be interesting. I'm not sure, but yeah, I agree. It's probably faster. All right, well, you want to switch gears here?
Let's switch gears. There's tons of questions.
Okay.
Let's alternate. I'll take one, then you take one.
All right.
So Renee is asking, how many items per day do you suggest to list? I think it depends on your business model. If you can take the amount of money that you want to make and divide it by the number of items that you need to sell, you can come up with a goal. I know that Luke has a very specific goal on how many items to list per month and per week. And that's sort of how he breaks it down. Or I mean, I can let him answer on his own, but for me, that's how I do it. I figure out how many listings I want and I work my way backwards.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Chris on this one. So I think first you have to decide what you're trying to accomplish before you can determine how many items you're going to list. For me, like, I believe in reverse engineering wholeheartedly. I've talked about this a couple of times, Chris. I know you talk about it too. It's like pick where you want to get to and then back into what you need to do each day. So for me, I knew I wanted to sell $100,000 of clothes this year, and I knew I needed to list 350 items per month to get there. And I'm just kind of backing in quick here. But so for me, it was like I need to do roughly 10 to 12 items a day. Like that's it. So that's what I would shoot for. Sometimes it's 25 in a day and 0, and sometimes it's 10 and 12. I mean, but you shoot for that. I also think you have to consider when you're making that assumption is how easy is it to find the inventory to fulfill the listings. I think that some people overlook that and like the time it takes to go source all the items you want to list. And then they're like, oh wait, I don't have time to list that many now because I spent all the time sourcing. So just be careful when you're laying those goals out to understand the puts and takes.
Awesome. I want you to look for another question. By the way, there's over 100 viewers in here. If you could help me out, hit that like button and subscribe. Also check the link, go to Luke's channel, like and subscribe to his channel. We're both putting out lots of content. Would appreciate it very much.
Yeah, definitely hit that like button, guys. We appreciate you tuning in here on a Sunday night Memorial Day weekend. I am still looking for a question here. If you see one to throw my way, feel free. I scrolled way up, and I've been scrolling down now, trying to catch up.
Marketing Melody is asking. Or go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead.
I said, Craver said, can anyone recommend a thermal printer? So this is kind of a real direct question, but we'll knock out. I use a Brother 550 QL. I actually wouldn't recommend it any longer, but the newer Brothers I would recommend for printing. I assume you're saying for printing shipping labels. I'm a big fan of the thermal just because it's easy to order the rolls in bulk. There's no ink, and they are peel and stick labels. So I would check out the Brother line. We can try to link up one too if I think about it after this. How about you, Chris? What do you use?
I bought 5,000 half-page labels, so I'm still working through that on a laser printer. But I just got a really good deal, so I'm just working through that and the couple of ink cartridges that I got. But afterwards, I want to try 2 different thermal printers because I just think it would be fun. So I want to do a Zebra and the Dymo and compare. And for me, it's like gadgets, so I like it.
Yes, I agree. You see one to grab there, Chris? You get another one.
Asked if it would be a higher value to have an actual model your clothing. And in my opinion, if you had the resources to pay a model, let's say $3 per item, and you could sell for $3 an item more, that would be great. But it's also not just that part of it. You also have to factor in scheduling them to come. I don't know how to quickly have them change. It definitely looks better.
I agree. It looks better. I'm not saying that someone shouldn't try to do it. My thing I would say is if you're sourcing all the same size items or large quantities of couple different items, I think that's definitely a great idea to separate yourself. If you're single sourcing every single size you come across with multiple brands, fits, materials, you name it, finding a model that makes that look better than the non-modeled picture for every individual size may be very challenging and costly. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like, I know that I only can fit into about 5% of the jeans I find. I find a ton of different sizes. Like, I don't find my size every time. So that's just something to consider, I think, when you talk about modeling for sure. But I agree with you. I mean, it definitely adds value for sure. It seems to be quite the fun comments here about, I mean, best offer with free shipping, and we didn't really address those together. So I think this is a good point to kind of address that. And I know people have wide views on that. So best offer, and this is how I'm going to break it down. And Chris, I'm going to let you kind of chime in on how you feel about it. Best offer to me is an opportunity to move an item faster than if they're not willing to pay full price. 1, 2, it's more attractive to get people who are coming to look to make a deal, right? And 3, the person who's going to pay full price is still going to pay full price because they don't want to wait to see if I accept the offer. So I'm not excluding any demographic from a full price purchase by offering best offer. I'm not losing out there. Second, you do run the risk of cutting your margin too low, but I always can decline. I can decline any offer I don't like. I don't have to sell it to them. 3, I would argue that best offer, going back and forth with people, makes your item more visible. Can't prove it, but I would just say from a basic algorithm, search engine optimization standpoint and philosophy, if an item is getting traction, back and forth communication on it, it is going to be more visible and viewed as more attractive in the search engine. So to me, it makes the item more attractive, attractive to buyers. And then when I pair in free shipping, to me, yeah, you guys are putting them together, but they're unrelated. Like free shipping it impacts price, and I'm going to price my items for free shipping. So the best offer, you got to kind of separate. You can't keep lumping them together and try to view it that way, in my opinion. But feel free.
I totally agree. And running my business with best offer, I really was not able to get up to the 30% sell-through rate that I'm looking for monthly. I'm in the like 10 to 20%. Again, that might be because of the types of items or seasonality, but I've noticed immediately with switching to free shipping, I can always decline, and it just seems like it's moving quickly. So it's also more streamlined when it comes to listing. And when I get to a certain point, I may even take off best offer because of time. So answering all those best offers. And then also the one thing that came up at eBay corporate was, why is the best offer 48 hours? Wouldn't it encourage a faster pace if it was 24 hours or even 12 hours for the exchange? And I thought that was a very interesting point on the length of best offer, because sometimes you send an offer and they just let it expire, which takes 2 days.
Yeah, that is the downside to it, and I completely agree. I think you always have to put the disclaimer too, guys, when we're talking about stuff like this. Like, there's a different model that fits for your size and business and for what risk and thresholds you're willing to take on as a business. Like, I think that always, like, everyone wants to cookie cutter it. There just isn't. Like, just like there isn't a cookie cutter business model for anyone. It's like whatever stage you're at and what's comfortable and works for you. And so that's why, like, I feel like best offer, it's just right now it works for your business. It works for mine too. I sold a soccer jersey for $15 today that I've had for 22 months up. All right. I paid $4 for it 22 months ago. No joke. Sold this ICF Spain. Like, it's probably a knockoff. I probably should never list it. Who knows, right? Sold it for $15 today because of best offer. It sat in my inventory forever. Paid $2.20 over almost 2 years to have it up, and I still made a profit because of best offer. Otherwise, I don't think I ever would have sold it anything for that price at. And sifting through 1,700 items to reprice them and get that competitive, this isn't an option for me. Best offer allows me to actually kind of hack it. What you were talking about earlier, Chris. I don't have to reprice my stuff because best offer allows me to still sell it without it. So that's kind of why I enjoy it for my business.
And I wanted to mention that 2 of the stores I follow, one is Apparel Save and one is BHFO. They both have over 100,000 listings, and one offers free shipping and one does not offer free shipping. One does auctions and the other does not, and they both do 40 million. So like, you can scale any size you want with any model you want.
Yeah,
you can do whatever you want as long. I think it's almost an art. You can decide how you want to run your business.
Yeah. There's pluses and minuses to all the ways you look at it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So that was really political answers by us right there, Chris. But
all right.
But I'm behind it though. You're next on the question here. Grab one.
All right, let me grab one. Let's see. Do we ship out of the country using global shipping, or do we ship direct?
That's you.
All right, so I have both available, and I like global shipping because of the ease, but they've lost 2 out of the last 5 packages. That's horrible. So even though they'll give me my money back and my buyer the money back, they didn't get their item. So, you know, it's kind of scary. I would like to ship it to them directly. It is a little bit cheaper, but then also you risk dealing with increased amount of fraud versus domestically. What do you think?
Yeah, no. So I only use global shipping program. I don't know that it's the best way, and I've watched a lot of other really successful resellers who ship direct and do it, and so it's doable, and it should probably be. I don't recommend. I mean, if you're willing to put in the effort to do it, and it looks like there's a streamline, I think you should do both. I personally don't, and I'm going to give a really dumb out, but it's just working full time and doing this. It's just one of those things where I pick and choose what I don't want to spend time to figure out. That's one thing for me that it doesn't add enough value to my business right now for me to figure out. If I ever was full time, I probably would figure it out. Or if I saw enough upside for me, there just isn't right now. But I do global shipping and I do regular. But I won't do like regular international or anything like that. So yeah, that's it.
Sue had a quick question on can we bulk decline offers below 20%? And there's no easy way to do it percentage wise. I wish so, but we're limited on only auto declining a certain dollar amount and manually entering them in one at a time.
Yeah, that's why I actually haven't done that feature yet, because I just am not willing to update all of my items one at a time. But if I really should start doing it moving forward, just so that I can, basically not have to do it. Like eventually I'll cycle through inventory, like just adding the inventory number to my title. It's so funny. You start adding a process in, even with just your new listings, and slowly you see the cycle of your other stuff cycle out. It's pretty cool. I did see someone ask a question about what's the percentage of best offers we take on all our sales. So like, meaning how many sales are best offer versus not. I think that's a really interesting question. I don't have an exact answer for it. I can tell you that it's probably like a 60-40 split for me. If I had to like estimate using some whatever high level logic, I would say 60% is best offer and 40% is just full price sold. How about you, Chris?
I think the better the brand, the less best offers. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm selling something cheap under $20, I get best offers, but over $20, I feel like those people, it's a more premium customer. The time is more valuable. They're not going to haggle. And if I do get a haggle on an item over $20, it's usually relatively close, just for me. Mm-hmm. I had, as an example, 3 Thomas pink shirts at the market on their designs was about $22, and I listed it at 24, and someone offered 20 for all 3 combined shipping, which I accepted. But if it was a $14 item, I'll get offers of $5 or $4 pretty frequently.
Right. Yeah. No. I agree to the most part with that. I will say that with suits and blazers, I get offers all day long on those. It doesn't seem to matter what the brand, like the higher end brands, I still get offers. But I think it's the type of item, right? It's like if someone's going to buy a suit online for the most part, it's like, man, I got an event coming up. I'm trying just to save money and not have to shell out a ton. So I feel like they kind of welcome more offers there where they're trying to get a good deal. Whereas I find with like high-end jeans, especially, I don't really get offers on. People just pull the trigger. Versus like my middle-of-the-road jeans and stuff like that, I get a lot more offers on. Let me see other ones.
DJ's asking, do we get in trouble if we don't answer or ignore best offers? I think you do. So I go in and I answer all those. I did disable the cha-ching on my phone, so just whenever I go in the eBay, that's when I answer everything. I used to ignore them, but I don't do that anymore. Now I literally answer every single communication, thinking it's giving me a boost.
That's a really interesting conversation. I think we could do a full show on that, because I don't answer any questions that I think are not worth my time. And that makes me sound horrible, I'm sure. But like, I'll get questions all the time for like just ridiculous questions. So like measure a certain part of something on like a $20 item. And most of the time on those questions, they never convert. Because they're looking for something so specific, like down to like the 1/4 inch, that it's just not going to convert to a sale. And so that's just the way I think about it. Like, like if someone's going to take the time to ask for a measurement that I didn't provide already, it's like, the probability of that converting is very low. So I don't ever respond to those. I also don't respond to some just other crazy stuff. But so do you think it's helping? Like, how long have you been doing that for? Do you have a decent sample size, or?
I've been doing it for, I would say 2-3 months, but I will just say no. I won't ignore it. So someone will say, like, I have a dog kennel that's on the exterior is measured 19 inches. And the lady said, can you measure the interior? And I said, it's less than 19 inches and I can't measure for you. Thanks for asking me to answer that for you, but I can't go into my warehouse to answer that question. So I know for sure it's less than the outside measurement. Hopefully your dog fits in it, and I have a return policy. But you know, like, it's priced to sell. Sorry, I can't take that measurement for you. So
that's a really good point. I wouldn't even thought of just blanket saying no. I guess my laziness took over in that, where I literally could just have typed no. Like, unfortunately, I cannot.
Right.
Like,
and I think it would be better to batch answer, but you know, again, it becomes an issue once you're over 1,000 items. You can't really do that.
Right. That's where, because mine's in a storage unit. Like, I have to remember to go do that when I pick up my items. And for higher end items, I'll do it all day long. Suits, blazers, big things, absolutely. $20 dress shirt, I'm not gonna do it. Like, just doesn't make business sense to do it. Let me see.
Are there any other companies that will fulfill your eBay sales like Amazon besides Amazon? Yeah, there are eBay fulfillment centers popping up. And I considered doing that. I went to the Goodwill outlet last week, and there were a bunch of sellers there that have huge death piles. And I was considering charging them $3 a listing and paying my listers $2 a listing to get it listed for them. And I don't know what I would charge to store the items, but I'm thinking about listing it and giving it back to people. So
that's an interesting model all by itself. My goodness, that's a
totally different
business,
different idea.
Yeah. Well, when you have people pay for the process, right? The infrastructure and the process.
Yeah, if they could just shop all day, I'm sure that would increase the number of sellers if they didn't have to do any listing at all. I'm also going to make a point, for those of you still listening, I am going to try a wholesale order from another company called OEM Experts. Not endorsed by them, but I'm going to try it. So I'm going to try an electronics pallet and see what happens. And I'll go into that more later, but I really want to try to work on wholesale because I think it's an opportunity for everyone to scale if there's a legitimate sources.
And sorry if you said that, but are you looking to do that via Amazon or via?
No, all eBay.
So you're gonna have to self-test everything.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for the self-testing, and I'm curious because I like that concept of not having to look for inventory, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we're going to have a future show on tips for bulk buying because I think we both are starting to scratch the surface of that. So we'll leave that one right there. But I'm excited for you. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. And just a kind of a blanket shout out. I've seen a ton of people shouting out saying hi. I just want to thank everyone. I'm not ignoring you guys. Just trying to give you all the content we can. Thank you guys for stopping in. And this is my shout out back to you. I see everyone in the chat saying hi. This is my hi back to you guys. So appreciate the love.
Yeah, what's up, everybody in the chat? Thank you again for stopping by. I'm trying to make as much content. The theory behind my channel is I'm going to try to put all the content up front, and then we'll hang out and chat afterwards. But I'm trying to, because some people only have time to stop and they get some nuggets, and then they got to go back to work or whatever. So I'm trying to be fair to both sets of people. But I do want to shout out Antonio because he's listening from all the way in Australia. That's pretty far. So thought I would definitely say hello.
What's up, Antonio? I see a question, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think we could dive in deeper for them. Is they're asking what are the pros and cons of 30-day versus good till canceled? Do you want to just kind of break it down, like kind of how we view it? I think it'd be good to kind of put simply.
I did 30 days and then sold similar. So items would end, I would list sell similar, I would adjust all my listings at once, and then I would delete the unsold listings. So I would never have any unsold listings, and I'd also have freshly adjusted items. But then I basically got yelled at when I went to the eBay headquarters, and they're like, no, you need to review all your listings on a schedule. That's how every single big seller does it. it takes time for listings to re-index. So when you take them down and put them back up, there's a window of time that your listings are not on eBay. So don't do that. But then I also feel like they would get stale. So, you know.
And yeah, and that's a great explanation. And I think the other 2 points that I'll add in is, one, if you run sales frequently, so you run sales for your whole store, if you schedule that sale and an item is set to expire during the sale, it will not include that item in the sale. So by having an expiration on your listing versus good till cancel, that prevents you. So that's one. And then the second thing with it is, I would argue, right, it's all about visibility and sellability. As soon as your item becomes unlisted and it expires, every second that it's not on eBay is a second it can't be sold. So there is also the advantage to, if items expire in your sleep and they sit there, 100 items dropped off, and for 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours while you're asleep, that's 10 hours they could have been viewed and sold on eBay. So to me, I'm kind of I'm definitely pro good till canceled now. I never used to be that way. You can watch old videos of mine. You see I definitely switched camps on this. I used to be the 30-day, non-negotiable, and now I've flipped. So hopefully that gives you kind of some of the pros and cons to it. Definitely you lose out on the reviewability of it when they expire, but I think there's more pros.
So I like this question. Do you offer returns, and what's your take on it?
Okay. You want to go first? I'm going to go.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I'm just a very pro-consumer viewpoint. I mean, like, I need the consumer to buy my products, and I need to be as friendly as possible with them. So I offer 60-day returns now, which is what eBay is promoting, and I don't have no restocking fees. I pretty much do zero to hinder a buyer from returning, even if I think they're basically trying to scam, or everyone says all the they're being taken advantage of. Basically, I just don't think it's worth my time as a business unless it's like one of those like $5,000, $500 sales you make on a one-off that you don't have very often, and you're in the right. Maybe I'll take it up with eBay. But pretty much I do 60-day returns, and I'll accept it past that window. Like, I've had 2 returns past 30 days before, maybe 1 or 2, 2 or 1. It was 2 returns past 30 days, and I've accepted both. One of them, the buyer didn't even ship it back to me, so I never had to refund them anyways, and it was closed another 30 plus days later. So I mean, I don't know. I'm a big B consumer friendly because it's good for business. Like, that's just the way I view it. Go ahead. Sorry, soapbox. Get off.
No, it's all good. I had 30-day returns. I changed to 60-day returns. I only had 5 returns out of my last 500 sales, so like 1%. And in most cases, I'm just giving the person their money back. But I do want to say I accepted a 150-day return because the guy wanted to return a brand new pair of shoes, and I accepted it. I said, "Will you pay return shipping and a 30% restocking fee?" And he said, "Sure." So I resold it already too. So I don't. I want to make one note that's interesting is we have a mutual friend, Tino, the Soul Advisor. You guys haven't followed his channel, you should. He waives the restocking fee if you return it within a certain period of time, which I love, because it's like, check your item. If you're not happy, send it back. I'll waive the restocking fee. If you wait, then I'll have to charge you. And I like it. I mean, that's a nice way to build a rapport with your customer.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't do restocking fees, although I have Steve Rakin's old template in a lot of my listings which says I do, but I don't actually have it checked in any of my settings, so I would never enforce it. And I doubt that any buyer ever scrolls down that far anyways to see it. But,
for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I like that though. I like that restocking fee thing that Tina does. That's neat.
Let's do one more question each. We want to be respectful to everyone's time. Thank you, Luke, again for coming on my channel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking. If you see one, go ahead and grab it.
All right, let's see.
Oh.
What is the sweet trophy behind you?
Oh, oh, that's hilarious. So that is our it's our family fantasy football trophy. And Shannon won this season. So it is proudly displayed in the guest bedroom. That way, when any of the family members come, they can be reminded that Shannon won. That's that's a great question.
Shannon may have been the person that asked that question.
It probably was her. Just to call attention to it one more time. Just rub it in. Let's see. There was a, hold on, where was that? Oh, this is for me. I guess I can answer it too. Rowing Pig said, question for Luke on returns. How many returns do you not ask for the item back? That's a really good question. And let's just end on that, Chris. Let's both kind of answer that. I think that's a really good topic.
Mm-hmm.
So anything where the item is damaged, I don't. And anything that is under $20 most of the time, or $20 under, and I'm going to have to pay, or like if they open it with where I have to pay return shipping, I pretty much always just refund them the money because it's just not worth it. Like if it's under a certain threshold. If it's like, 25 and up, I might consider it, with 20 and low, I don't. And I would say like this month, I literally only have 2 returns this month. And if I had, I would say maybe 50% of them, they tell them to keep the item. The other 50% get sent back. How about you, Chris?
Similar. I have, if it's, I have a little bit of echo. Is that echo on your end also?
No,
okay, it went away. My theory is that under $20, they can just keep it for the most part. That being said, I have 5 returns that are under $20 here that it was their fault.
Mm-hmm.
So they paid return shipping, and I don't have a process for it. So they're just sitting in this pile. I sort of don't like these items because they were returned. So I don't have a policy, or I don't have a procedure for how to deal with returns. 2 of them I haven't even opened. I don't even know if they returned the right items. So I mean, they're under $20 though.
Yeah, I think that's a theme. That's a theme for most resellers. I have the same thing. I have a closet. I get them and I give them a nice heave, and they land in the closet. And one day I'll reprocess all of them. But unless sometimes I'll relist them right away, like when I know that I refund them. If it's shipped back, sometimes I'll relist it and then just throw it in the closet. And then I'm like, oh, why can't I find that item? And I'm like, oh, I wonder if it was a return. And then I have to go dig through the closet and open all the packages to find it. So yeah, that could be another show topic. We might need to develop a process for that ourselves.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you for stopping by. We'll see you guys next Sunday on Luke's channel. Yes. We'll post it on Instagram and everywhere for you guys to check it out. And if you guys like the show, please like and comment. Let us know what you like and don't like about this format so we can adjust for next week.
Absolutely. And also, if you have ideas for future show topics that you really want to learn about, definitely leave them in the comments. It helps us direct the content to make sure it's kind of satisfying what you guys want to see. So appreciate you guys stopping in. Thanks for having me, Chris, and looking forward to next week.
Awesome. That was great. Thanks, Luke.
See you guys.